Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel on the college process. Once again, I'm Ed from Principia Prep, and today, like every Friday going forward, we're going back in, taking all the questions you guys left on any of the videos here, and turning them in video format and putting it back here on the YouTube channel. Now, this is the first time you guys are watching this video here on our channel. What we do here is every question you guys leave on any of the videos here, we make a video every Friday, and then basically put it back up here with detailed information, answers to all the questions you guys leave here on the channel for any of the videos here on the channel. So that being said, let's jump right into the first question here, coming in from Nia Watkins. My daughter did dual enrollment in high school and has 60 credits that will transfer. Is it better to wait until the following semester or summer to take on more credits to help graduate in 2 years? Well, the way it works, is at least the way I look at it, is if you're able to graduate early, I always kind of push that forward because of the fact that the faster you can get in and out of college, the better. From this perspective, college is basically just a place to get your career path started. That's at least the way I look at it. Sure, it's the best 4 years of your life and everyone talks about it, so on and so forth. But the reality is it's really just a stepping stone into the rest of your life. So why not get it done as quickly as possible? If I'm able to take either summer courses or overload or add more classes the fall semester or spring or winter courses, I typically like to do that, get in and out quickly because of a couple of reasons. Obviously, the resource situation, obviously spending money and time there. You want to kind of get out of the way as quickly as possible to minimize debt and also minimize the time you spent in college to start the rest of your life. So for me, yes, I would love to try to get in and out as quickly as possible. I would sit down with the student's academic advisor at that college and figure out which summer courses make sense, winter courses, fall semester, can we do a little bit more? That way we can get in and out. They're the key here to figuring out which classes are available at what time and which courses need to be taken to get you in and out quickly. But yes, I do like the idea of getting in and out quicker rather than taking more time at the college. That being said, let's go to the next question here. It'll be from Nia as well. Nia's asking, is it better to take on the interest-free federal student loans as a buffer for unexpected expenses? I do like the idea, by the way, as you see all my other videos when I talk about the student loans, especially the federal direct loans. I always talk about, I like the idea of the students taking the federal direct loans to have some skin in the game, not just the parents paying for everything and the financial aid helping out, but them also being part of the financial situation here. Now, when it comes to the federal direct loans, as many of you may know from the other videos we've done, there's essentially two types of federal loans that students are typically eligible for. Those are basically the federal direct subsidized loan and the federal direct unsubsidized loan. Now, the federal direct subsidized loan talked about here basically means the loans that have no interest attached to them because the federal government's paying that interest while the student's in school up to a 6-month grace period after they leave school. That's when the interest and payments restart on the federal subsidized loans. Now, if you're considering just taking the sub loan and not taking the unsub loan, that's perfectly fine. I don't see any problem with taking the interest-free loan and saying no to the loan that has the interest rate on it. But if you want to take both, I don't see a problem with that either. In either case, yes, I do think it's a good idea to take out the federal subsidized loan to be able to have a buffer there just to help you guys out. I don't see a problem with that. That being said, let's jump to the next question here. Next question here comes from BB the Duke. My child is finishing junior year in high school with an 80 out of 100 GPA. At this point in time, given the lack of dedication to academics, we're planning on community college after graduation. What sort of GPA should he strive for in a 2-year community college to have a good chance to be able to transfer into 4-year university? Well, the way it works is, as far as college is concerned, in college, everything's at a 4-point scale. So in college, essentially, if you have a 3.0 or above, essentially where he is right now, 80 or above, as a transfer student, you open up a lot more doors, believe it or not, than you would as just a B student coming out of high school. So if the student can maintain at least a B, that's the goal. That's the starting point goal, it's called. Next level really is like a 3.5 out of the 4 scale. At a 3.5 and above, you're starting to open up the doors for all colleges out there. And I mean every college out there. Obviously, as you get to the highest levels, the Harvards, the Stanfords, the Browns, etc., you need closer to the 4.0, but 3.5 and above is which will typically allow you the opportunity to apply to have a chance to get into the highest level schools. Realistically, if we're looking at just a normal list of schools here, let's say acceptance rates somewhere for these schools around a 40% or above, a B average, an 80 out of 100, you're perfectly fine in the community college. So all Bs across the boards or above. If you're looking at higher tier schools, let's say schools that have, let's say somewhere around a 30% acceptance rate or below, then you really got to be the 3.5 GPA or above. That's where it'll give you the best opportunities to get into the higher schools. That being said, let's go to the next questions here. Do colleges require students to leave campus? And I guess the question is, do colleges require students to leave campus after being on campus for a year or two? Now, the way it works in the world of college is every college is individually different, especially when it comes to the housing situation. Some schools will let you live on campus all 4 years. Some schools will not let you live on campus all 4 years. Some schools will give you a year or two. Then you got to find off-campus housing if you guys aren't anywhere near, I guess, where the parents live, essentially. Now, the best way to figure out what the college's situation is housing-wise is contact the school's housing department. Every school has a housing department, by the way. The housing department will let you know whether they'll let you stay there for a year or two and you got to leave, whether they'll let you stay there all 4 years, in some cases even for grad school. Every school's housing department is different. So realistically, it's not the case where every school will let you be on campus all 4 years. And the way I would figure it out, contact the housing department. They'll be able to, for that specific school you're considering here, will be able to stay on campus the whole time or not. Because obviously, if they can't stay on campus all the time, typically means housing is limited at the college, which might mean outside campus housing is limited too, which might get a lot more expensive. So it's just something to think about as you're going through the whole college process. That being said, let's go to the next question here, which is the next question is from ZA. If the bill is due July 15th, wouldn't it be late to shop for loans on July 15th? I ask because isn't there a 30-day wait period delay on student loans for new college students? Well, right at the bat, when it comes to this video here you're talking about specifically May, June, July, I actually talk about in the video that you should start shopping for loans at the end of June, so the beginning of July. So it wouldn't be the middle of July where I would suggest shopping for loans. So I guess starting off with, it's really the end of June is when you're shopping for loans. So July 15th is not a late date, but it's something that I would be doing at least a week or two before at most. Also, when it comes to student loans do not take 30 days. I'm not sure where the 30-day question is coming from because I've never seen this before. Student loans themselves, whether you're doing federal loans, private loans, or state loans, all these loans take less than 15 minutes to complete the application and get approved. And then technically, once you're approved, the school can actually see that you've been approved. They actually see it the same day. They just don't see it in the situation that they're not refreshing their page every day. The student loan officer at the school is not refreshing their page from the system, trying to see what new loans are coming in, because they're working from the loans from the day before, adding them to the student's account. So when it comes to student loans, they'll see it typically the next day when they get refreshed on their page. Student loan, once you're approved, should only take about 24 hours for the school to see it. Also, in addition to this, when it comes to student loans or most payment plans or most bills for school, let me put it that way, aren't due until August 1st. So even if you did do the loan July 15th, which is a little late, but not really that late, even if you did do that by August 1st, which is basically all student bills are due between August 1st and August 15th, by that point in time, they were already seen a loan. The 30-day credit, I'm not sure where the 30-day window is coming in from, because the way student loans works, by the way, let me give you guys a quick little, I guess, overview of student loans. You guys apply for the student loan, 10, 15-minute application, you get approved. The next day, the student loan is seen by the college's student loan officer at that school. They then, within that day or two, will put it on the student's account, allowing the billing office to see that the student has a loan in place to be able to pay for the school. End of September, at the latest, early October, the loan money is then drawn in. It's brought in one giant group by the school. But before it's drawn in, originated, basically they call it, originated as far as making it a loan in the school system and bringing the funds in. Before then, the loan actually shows up on the student's account, indicating that loan funds are coming in, so the student is covered. So the reality is there's not that really big long of a wait that you have to worry about. Once you apply, you get accepted, that loan's there basically the next day or two. So it's very quick. So if you guys were to do the loans, I would suggest, as talked about in the video, end of June, early July at the latest. But if you do it mid-July, not a problem either. You should be fine. That being said, let's go on to the next question here. It comes in from Sally, MCG. What about a 3.7 leaving sophomore year with so many honors, IB, AP? I keep hearing about kids with 4.3 GPAs and schools cutting off admissions at 4.0. My kid is smart, hardworking, and has a work-life balance with extracurricular activities and academics. This coming in from the video for, is a 2.9 GPA really that bad? Well, the way it works is this. It all depends on your school list. All this stuff that we're doing, by the way, depends on the school list. From this perspective, for Sally, let's just say your student has a 3.7 GPA with a bunch of APs, IB, so on and so forth. If that student's considering schools, and let's call it a 20% or less acceptance rate, then realistically, across the board, your student has to have essentially all A's. Maybe, this is a maybe, 1 or 2 B's, but it really has to be all A's across the board. From the perspective that every college, every year over the last 3 or 4 years has become more and more and more competitive. So all these schools, especially the high-end schools, the Harvards, the Yales, the MITs, almost 90% of students being accepted do not have Bs in any course across the board. AP, IB, dual credit courses, whatever it may be. It's just A's, 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 A's. So if we're looking at it from that perspective, then realistically, if you have a student who has, let's say, out of 10 courses, 5 or 6 A's, and then the rest are B's, they're probably not going to get into these colleges, just being completely honest with you. Now, if you have an academically strong student, all A's across the board, taking high-level rigorous courses, then yes, they have a higher level chance of getting into the higher level schools, especially the 20% acceptances or below, especially if they're well-rounded, as you indicated here, because they're also looking at all the students well-rounded. It's not just the academic profile. Now, if we're looking at, let's say, an acceptance rate of, let's say, 21% to 40%, let's call it the next level of types of schools, then you can have a couple of B's in there and you're going to be okay. You're going to have a fairly good chance of getting into these higher level, but not top schools, which is not a bad situation to be in. It's all about building a list from this perspective. No matter how academically bright your student is, and this is for everyone out there watching this, if you have an academically bright student, let's say all A's across the board, all APs, all IB, all dual credit courses, highest levels courses across the board, great testing, great SATs, ACTs, 36s, 1600s, etc. Your list cannot be, let's say if you're applying to, let's say, 10 schools, your list cannot be 9 reach schools and 1 backup. That's just not going to work. You got to have some semblance of balance here. If you want to apply to 9 reach schools, perfectly fine, up to you guys. But you got to have at least 6, 7, a couple of schools in there, mid 6, 7 schools that are target level schools where we have a 50% chance or higher getting into. You cannot have 90% of schools being reached and then 1 backup just in case, because once again, this is becoming very competitive nowadays. The reality is, of those 9 reach schools, you can only do really 1 or 2 early decision 1s and early decision 2s, restricted early actions, or first choice to increase chances of getting in. And what happens if of those schools, you get 2 rejections for the early decision 1, early decision 2, and then the other 7 are also reach schools, they're probably also going to be rejections. So the reality is there's got to be balance to the application admissions list. If you apply to, let's say, 10 schools again, and you have 6 reach schools, but you have 4 target schools, you got to add more schools. If you have, let's say, 4 reach schools and 6 target schools, then you're okay. I'd still throw a safety school or 2 on there, obviously for scholarship consideration, and as well as leverage and some other factors too, as I talk about in other videos. But there's got to be a balance to the applications. If there's not, it's going to be very difficult. Just being honest with you, the world of admissions is becoming extremely competitive. But if you have a high level achieving student, 3.5 out of a 4 scale, a lot of regular schedule, well balanced, I'm perfectly fine with applying a lot of reach schools as long as we have a balance to the application. Next question here comes in from Nia Watkins. Should I set up a payment plan while I wait for an outside scholarship to go to my students, to my daughter's account? The scholarships are enough to cover the financial gap for freshman year. Well, it depends. Depends from this perspective. If you know the scholarship money from private sources coming into you or coming into the school before the deadline of the bill, then no, you don't set up a payment plan because that's going to hit the account. You'll be fine. If you know the scholarship amounts coming in after the bill is due, then yeah, I don't see a problem setting up a payment plan to extend the amount of time you have to cover the bill. So that way you're kind of buying time. So I do like this idea depending on when the bill is due. It looks like we are down to the last question here, coming in from 7 hours ago. Hello, I wanted to ask a question. I'm an international student and I'm already a sophomore in university, but I want to take the SATs and apply to US universities. Can I apply as a first-year student? I will undo my registration for my current uni if I get accepted. Well, it depends on your situation. The way it works is this. Most of the stuff, by the way, is on the honor system in the sense that you tell the university certain things and you send them certain documents to basically back up your information. From this perspective, if you decide to go to university, whether it's domestic or international, whatever it may be for you, and you've already gone to a college, the moment you guys step foot on that college, you are deemed a transfer student. It's just the way it works in the world of universities. Basically, the first day you step on campus, the moment you step on there and you've paid and you're a matriculated student, you're a transfer student. Whether you stay there a day, a week, a month longer, whether you pass your courses, you fail your courses, it doesn't matter. You are basically a transfer student. Now, that being said, as a transfer student, you lose a lot of value from this perspective. And I'm going to give you kind of a business perspective, the way colleges look at every student, by the way. Every student for every university is basically the same thing. You're 4 years of revenue. So as a transfer student, you're no longer 4 years of revenue because of the fact that now, as let's say a second-year student, you're only 3 years of value because you're only providing 3 years of revenue source for that university. Whereas a freshman is 4 years. Since a freshman is 4 years, that means they get the highest priority for scholarship consideration. As a transfer student, in some cases, they will cut the scholarship amounts down, in some cases by half. So that being said, I'm telling you what to do or not to do. If you go in as a freshman student, you will be eligible for the highest maximum amount of scholarship money. As you go as a transfer student, you'll be a lower evaluation to them. But it's also other things to consider too. As a transfer student, if you have credits that are transferable at that university, you will save time, you will save money, which might mitigate the loss of scholarship, either percentage or scholarship entirely. Because if you can go into college and already take care of a year or two based on the credits you have, then in most cases, the scholarship kind of is irrelevant because of the fact that most scholarships, almost no scholarships, by the way, are full tuition. Those are extremely rare. They do happen, I'm not going to say they don't, but they're extremely rare. So if I know I'm going to go in and the scholarship I'm going to get as a freshman, let's say, is $20,000, but the tuition is $50,000. If I go in as a freshman, I'm going to be saving 80 grand, 20,000 each year. Same scenario. Let's say I'm going in as a transfer student, but I already have 2 years taken care of, and they're only going to give me a $10,000 scholarship. So yes, I'm losing $80,000 of scholarship money, and I'm only getting $20,000 of scholarship money, but I only have 2 years left of college. So the reality is the cost savings would make more sense as a transfer student, because with 2 years left, I'm paying $80,000. Where the other scenario, it's 50, 50, 50, 50, subtract the 20, leaves you with 30, 30, 30, 30, which means you're looking at 120 if you go in there with the full scholarship versus only looking at 80, and also looking at it from the perspective of you save the time as well as the money. So all that being said, it depends on your situation, but once again, once you step foot on campus, you are supposed to be looked at as a transfer student. Okay. Other than that, thank you everyone for watching today's video. If you guys have any additional questions, please leave them here on the channel. Once again, we will be doing this every Friday, answering any questions you guys leave on here, and then putting it in video format, and then putting it back on YouTube so everyone has answers to all their questions. As well as, once again, here on the screen is my contact information. If you guys need more help or assistance in the process, please let me know. I do help out families with the financial aid and admissions process. If you need help, that's my cell phone number. Easiest, quickest way to reach me is text message. Since I do consulting for families, I do it through Zoom. So then that way, if you need more help on a one-on-one basis, I am here available for you guys, as well as that's also my email if you guys want to email as well. Other than that, thank you guys for watching today's video. Once again, my name is Ed from Principia Pro.